You know, I feel like we treat modern dating like it's a supply chain problem.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, like we have the geographical filters, the checklists, the height requirements, the matching algorithm.
It's all very calculated.
Yeah, exactly. We
Yeah.
optimize for efficiency. We assume that if you plug in the exact right data, someone with a stable career who loves dogs, who shares your bizarre obsession with, like, 1980s sci-fi,
Right, the perfect profile.
yeah, that the system should just logically output your perfect match.
It's an incredibly engineered approach to romance, really. I mean, we want a measurable, logical return on our emotional investment, mostly because, well, we're terrified of wasting time.
We really are.
Yeah.
But then you actually sit down across from that quote-unquote perfect match on a Tuesday night for coffee, and the logic just completely collapses.
It falls apart.
It totally does. You're looking at a human being who checks every single box on your perfectly curated spreadsheet, but your stomach is physically tightening. Like there's this quiet alarm telling you to run.
Right, or you get the exact opposite scenario.
Yeah, on the flip side, you meet someone who defies every single rule you've ever set for yourself, and your brain just whispers, oh, there you are.
And that moment, the collapse of the spreadsheet, that is exactly where things actually get interesting.
It really is. And that is exactly what we are exploring today. Welcome to the Deep Dive.
So glad to be here.
For you, the listener, whether you are currently agonizing over a text message from a new connection, or you're just endlessly fascinated by the hidden psychology behind human decision-making, our mission today is to step entirely outside the world of swiping and logic.
We're going off the grid a bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We are exploring the forgotten, quiet power of the inner voice. We're pulling insights from the text, the intuitive compass, navigating love and soulmate connections.
It's a fantastic source.
It really is.
Yeah.
We're specifically looking at what Tina Aldea Psychic's approach teaches us about how our subconscious mind is often trying to solve our relationship puzzles, long before our conscious brain even registers there's a problem.
Yeah, because the core tension here is that massive gap between what we think we know intellectually and what we fundamentally feel to be true.
Okay, let's unpack this, because intuition is a really heavy word.
It definitely comes with a lot of baggage.
It does. People throw it around like it's magic, but according to the text, it actually manifests in very tangible, almost physical ways in real life.
Yeah, it's not just a vague vibe.
Right. It's that unexplained sense of absolute trust with a stranger you met 10 minutes ago, or a persistent nagging feeling that something is just fundamentally off with a partner, even when you can't point to a single bad behavior.
And it can also be recurring thoughts about someone that simply refuse to dissipate, no matter how much you try to logically dismiss them.
I always think of it like your brain is running a massive background app.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, like your conscious mind is looking at the screen, right?
Yeah.
Reading the person's dating profile, engaging in small talk.
Yeah.
But the background app is quietly gathering terabytes of data.
Microexpressions, vocal cadence, things like that.
Exactly. Pupil dilation, posture.
Yeah.
And it's crunching the numbers without you even knowing.
That background app analogy is actually perfectly aligned with how neurologists and evolutionary psychologists define intuition.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Your brain is fundamentally a relentless pattern recognition machine. I mean, the conscious part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, it can only process about 40 bits of information per second.
That sounds pretty low.
It is incredibly slow.
Yeah.
But your subconscious processes millions of bits per second.
Oh, wow. So while I'm just trying to figure out if my date's joke was funny, my subconscious has already evaluated their posture, matched their eye contact to a database of every person who has ever lied to me, and, calculated a threat level.
Precisely. It bypasses conscious thought entirely and hands you the final result as a physical sensation, a gut feeling.
So the math is happening, you just don't get to see the work on the chalkboard.
Exactly. Now, spiritual practitioners view this from a completely different angle. They look at the same phenomenon but interpret it as guidance from a deeper level of consciousness.
Like a spiritual tether.
Right, connecting you to universal truths that transcend pure biology.
I mean, that is a pretty massive divide. Pure neurological data processing versus a metaphysical company.
It is a divide, for sure. But the beautiful part for you, the listener, is that it honestly does not matter which camp you fall into.
Because the result is the same.
Yes. Whether you are a strict logician relying on subconscious pattern processing or a spiritual seeker trusting universal guidance, the mechanism functions the same way. The outcome is identical.
This invisible force profoundly influences your life.
Absolutely.
Which means ignoring it comes with some serious consequences. Let's look at what happens when this theory meets the real world. The source material contrasts two wildly different scenarios that show exactly what is at stake when we pit logic against the inner voice.
These case studies are really revealing.
They are. Let's start with the danger of good on paper. There's a case study of a woman named Sarah. She dated a man for nearly a year, and he was the walking embodiment of her logical checklist. Stable, ambitious, same hobbies.
The algorithm gave him a perfect score.
A perfect score.
Yeah.
But her background app was constantly throwing up red flags, like he avoided deep conversations, he subtly shifted blame.
He was emotionally closed off.
Very closed off. And even though her friends pointed out these blind spots, Sarah fiercely defended him because, logically, he was a catch. She constantly felt this low-grade unease, but she just suppressed it.
Because society tells us that if someone has a good job and doesn't explicitly mistreat you, well, you have no right to leave.
Right.
She was overriding her own internal alarm system to satisfy a societal checklist.
And it ended in total disaster months later over those exact same emotional disconnects. There's a quote from Sarah in the text that hit me hard. She says, "I knew something wasn't right. I just didn't trust myself enough to listen."
That is so common.
It is. She had the data, she just refused to read the report. Now compare that to Michael's story.
Michael is the perfect inverse. He meets a woman unexpectedly at a social gathering. And unlike Sarah's partner, this woman checks none of the logical boxes.
None of them.
They are from different cultural backgrounds, they live entirely incompatible lifestyles, and even Michael's close friends are pulling him aside saying, "What are you doing? This makes zero sense."
On paper, it's a guaranteed failure.
Completely. But Michael felt an immediate, profound sense of familiarity and ease with her. There was no dramatic intellectual reasoning, just a quiet, undeniable pull that he needed to explore the connection.
And he listened to it.
He did. He ignored the lack of logical proof, followed the compass, and years later they are happily together. His quote is the exact mirror image of Sarah's. He says, "I couldn't explain it logically. I just felt like I was supposed to meet her."
I couldn't explain it logically. I mean, that just completely upends how we are taught to make decisions.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, these two stories highlight the absolute limits of logic in human connection. Logic needs proof, right? And proof takes time.
Yeah, you have to gather evidence.
Exactly. Intuition, however, spots long-term viability or long-term disaster long before the conscious mind can articulate a single defensible reason.
But hold on, let's play devil's advocate here for a second. If this inner compass is so natural, if it's literally an evolutionary tool designed to keep us safe and help us thrive, why is it so incredibly hard for us to just listen to it? Why did Sarah suffer for a year? Why do we actively drown this voice out?
Well, because modern life is practically designed to jam the signal. The text outlines 4 massive blockers that silence the compass.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first is the fear of being wrong. We live in an empirical world. If you break up with a supposedly great person, people demand a reason.
Oh, absolutely.
"I just had a feeling" doesn't hold up in the court of public opinion. We treat breaking up like we're presenting a legal case to a jury, so we stay in bad situations waiting for a smoking gun to prove our intuition was right.
That is so true. You stay in the burning house just so you can show people the ashes as proof that there was a fire.
That's a great way to put it.
So what's the second blocker?
Pressure from others. We are deeply social creatures, and the desire to conform is hardwired into us. When your family, your friends, and societal expectations are all shouting in one direction, it creates immense cognitive dissonance.
Right. It is incredibly difficult to hear a quiet internal nudge when 5 people you love are screaming that you're making a mistake.
Exactly. External voices drown out the internal one.
But what about the third blocker? The source talks about past relationship trauma, which feels like it comes from the inside, not the outside.
It does, and it's perhaps the most insidious blocker because it fundamentally rewires the machine. Trauma damages your predictive text algorithm.
How so?
When you have been profoundly hurt or betrayed, your brain's survival mechanism goes into hyperdrive. It starts seeing threats everywhere.
It creates false positives.
Yes, you start projecting past pain onto present situations, which completely muddies the waters. You can no longer tell if you're perceiving a genuine red flag or just reacting to the ghost of an ex-partner.
That is terrifying. Your own defense system basically gets hacked.
It really does.
And the fourth blocker?
Overthinking. The paradox of choice. Modern dating has trained us to evaluate situations to death.
Oh, the endless analysis.
We screenshot texts, we send them to group chats, we dissect the meaning of punctuation, and we compare a real human being to a phantom ideal we constructed online. We intellectualize romance until there is no room left for instinct.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, because if you take those four blockers, especially the trauma and the overthinking, it creates a massive functional problem for the listener.
It does.
How on earth do we filter out the noise? Let me push back on this a bit. If I am dealing with an anxiety disorder, or if I've been traumatized, my baseline is panic.
Right.
So if I'm going on a date and my heart is racing, my palms are sweating, and my brain is screaming danger, how am I supposed to know if that's my intuition protecting me or just my anxiety ruining my Friday night?
That is a very real struggle.
Right. Or conversely, what if I feel intensely, overwhelmingly infatuated with someone after an hour? Is that my soulmate compass or just a dopamine hit?
That is the most critical distinction to make, and it's where most people fail. How do you separate the signal from the noise?
Exactly.
The text explained that the answer lies in the frequency and the texture of the feeling. Emotion and intuition operate on entirely different physiological channels.
Explain the mechanics of that. How do they actually feel different?
Well, emotion is loud, volatile, and biochemically intense. It demands immediate action. Fear feels sharp and panicked. Anxiety feels frantic and overwhelming.
And infatuation.
Infatuation feels like a manic high. These are massive spikes in cortisol or dopamine. They take over your entire nervous system, but they are relatively short-lived. They have a half-life.
So emotions are like a sunny weather event, a hurricane rolling through your brain.
Exactly. True intuition, on the other hand, operates on a completely different frequency. It is not a hurricane, it is the climate.
Oh, that's a good distinction.
The hallmark of genuine intuition is that it is calm. It does not induce panic. It is persistent, clear, and crucially, it is consistent over time. It doesn't spike and crash. Whether you are having a great day or a terrible day, that quiet knowing simply remains steady.
So anxiety is the fire alarm blaring in the hallway, disorienting you. Intuition is just a quiet, steady hum of the refrigerator.
Yes.
You might not notice it over the alarm, but when the alarm stops, the hum is still there.
A perfect way to visualize it. Intuition doesn't need to yell because it isn't trying to force you into a fight or flight response. It's simply presenting you with a truth.
All right, so let's say a listener manages to wait out the biochemical storm. The anxiety fades, the infatuation cools, and they can finally hear that steady hum. Where is it actually trying to lead them?
That naturally bridges into the concept of soulmates and the external tools people use to try and find them.
Yeah, the idea of a soulmate connection is deeply intertwined with these intuitive experiences. When people describe meeting a soulmate, they rarely talk about checklists.
No, they talk about intuition.
Right, the source outlines these classic soulmate markers, and they are entirely subconscious. It's like Michael's story, feeling instantly familiar with a stranger.
Or having recurring, vivid dreams before meeting someone.
Yes. Or experiencing synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that feel mathematically impossible to just be random chance.
It's about sensing a connection that already exists rather than forcing one into existence.
But because these experiences are so profound and incredibly difficult to manufacture on demand, people get impatient.
Very impatient. They look for shortcuts.
They seek out external tools to force the issue, which is where the text brings in the work of Tina Aldea Psychic Artist.
Right.
And Tina Aldea provides personalized soulmate sketches and energy-based readings, which is fascinating on its own. But what I found really compelling isn't the drawing itself, but the psychological mechanism behind why a service like that actually works for people.
What's fascinating here is the irony of modern romance. People are so desperate for a connection that they outsource their inner voice.
Oh, say more about that.
They scour dating apps, they hire matchmakers, they consult psychics. They are looking everywhere externally for an answer that fundamentally has to come from within.
They are trying to use a GPS to find a location when they are already standing inside the building.
Precisely. So, what is the real value of an external tool, like a soulmate sketch? It isn't a crystal ball that absolves you of doing the work.
Right.
It operates as a mirror. The combination of an intuitive reading and a visual representation shocks the system. It interrupts the endless swiping and forces the person to stop, look at the sketch, and reflect deeply on what kind of energy they are actually looking for.
It completely breaks the pattern of over-intellectualizing.
Exactly. It makes them highly aware of the subtle, intuitive nudges they are already receiving but have been ignoring.
Ah, I see.
The external tool doesn't give them the answer. It simply awakens their internal compass so they can find the answer themselves.
So what does this all mean for the listener? If we can't all get an energetic reading right this second, how do we build this muscle on our own? How do we calibrate our own compass?
Well, the source material lays out 5 very practical tactics to start doing this today.
And these are crucial because intuition is a muscle. If it has atrophied from years of ignoring it, you have to rehabilitate it.
Absolutely.
So, tactic number 1, spend time in silence, which, sounds a bit trite, but mathematically it makes sense.
It is foundational. You cannot hear a quiet voice in a noisy room.
Very true.
We constantly bombard our brains with stimuli, podcasts, music, TikTok, the opinions of our friends. Your brain never has a moment of baseline neutrality.
So we need quiet.
You have to intentionally create silent space, even just 10 minutes a day, so the background app can present its findings to the conscious mind.
You have to pull over and turn the engine off to hear if a tire is leaking.
That's exactly it.
All right, tactic number 2, journal your feelings. This is basically data collection, right?
Yes. Human memory is highly fallible, especially when emotions are involved.
Oh, for sure. We romanticize everything in hindsight.
By writing down your unedited impressions immediately after a date, you create a hard data set for your subconscious. Over time, patterns emerge. You might realize that despite a date being objectively fun and checking all the logical boxes, your journal entries consistently note that you feel physically exhausted or drained afterward.
You're getting the data out of RAM and saving it to the hard drive so you can actually review it.
Exactly.
Tactic number 3, pay attention to repeated signs.
Don't dismiss the bizarre coincidences. If a certain thought keeps popping into your head or you keep encountering the same theme or person, do not write it off as random noise.
Treat it as a data point.
Yes, treat it as a data point that your intuition is desperately trying to highlight.
Okay, tactic number 4 is my favorite because it's so low stakes. Trust small instincts first.
This is so important.
If your intuition is atrophied, you shouldn't test it for the first time on whether to sign a mortgage with someone.
No, you start with the equivalent of lifting a 2-pound weight. Listen to the nudge that tells you to take a different route to work.
Or order the coffee your gut says to get, even if you usually get tea.
Right. Follow the urge to call a friend out of the blue. By honoring these micro-intuitions, you rebuild the neural pathways of trust between your conscious and subconscious mind.
So when the massive relationship decision comes, the communication line is already open and tested.
Exactly.
And finally, tactic number 5, reflect rather than react.
This brings us back to managing the emotional storm we talked about earlier. When you feel a massive surge of panic or infatuation, do nothing.
Do nothing.
Give the biochemistry time to settle. Do not send the text. Do not end the relationship. Do not propose.
Just pause.
Wait out the spike. Let the smoke clear. And see what the calm, quiet voice is saying in the aftermath.
That is a life-saving piece of advice right there. Just wait out the spike.
Yeah.
But we do need to address a vital caveat here before we wrap up.
Yes, we do.
Intuition is incredibly powerful, but it's not a free pass.
No, it is not a substitute for the actual mechanics of a relationship. Intuition is the compass. It points you in the right direction.
But you still have to put gas in the car and steer.
Exactly. It does not replace the need for healthy communication, establishing personal boundaries, or working through conflict. It simply ensures you are investing all that hard work into the right person.
Right. It tells you if the foundation is solid, but you still have to build a house.
Well said.
So as we pull all of this together, the major takeaway for you, the listener, is a reminder that human connection is fundamentally wild. You cannot spreadsheet your way to a soulmate.
You really can't.
Because your subconscious mind is perceiving truths, calculating risks, and recognizing deep compatibility long before your intellect even knows what questions to ask.
We spend a staggering amount of time trying to optimize our lives. We curate our dating profiles. We strategize our text messages. We try to logically hack our way to the perfect partner.
We want to control the outcome.
We do. But this entire exploration leaves us with a much bigger, more provocative question to ponder.
What's that?
If our subconscious mind is this incredibly advanced, if it's this incredibly accurate at navigating the most complex human emotions when we just get quiet enough to listen to it, what else are we ruminating by over-intellectualizing?
Oh, wow.
What other massive life decisions, our careers, the cities we choose to live in, the friendships we maintain, what are we actively sabotaging right now because we are demanding a spreadsheet instead of trusting our own compass?
That is a profound thought to sit with. Are we overthinking our way out of the right life?
It's worth considering.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. The algorithm might be broken, but your compass isn't. We challenge you to take 10 minutes of total silence today. Turn off the input, step away from the logic, and just see what your inner voice has been waiting to tell you. We'll see you next time.